Alright, we're getting back to this knuckle motor. So the first thing you gotta do, you've been sitting a while in your project, you gotta start gathering all your junk out to see what you gotta do. So we gotta separate out the good parts and the bad parts. Looks like we got a mixture of stuff here. So we need to put the studs back in the cases here, which have been sitting over here on my table for months now, waiting to go back in. So I have to figure out how much height we need. So sometimes I write things down like that over here so I know what they are, but those aren't the numbers. So we have the cylinder sitting over here. We have a junk case laying here that looks like it's 74-inch studs in here. So that's probably the height we need to go to, but we gotta check to make sure that's correct. We gotta go through all these parts and see what we need to use. I'm thinking some of this stuff here we might need. That's called bearings. And there's definitely a nut down there I saw. Okay, there's our nut. So first we're going to do is figure out our case length here. So that means we've got to take our case and put it up here and figure it out. Alright, so let's get this thing up here in the air. We can deal with it. Junk out of the way. Cylinders, one of them. Okay, I'm not sure which one that is. It doesn't really matter. The cutout's there. The push rods are on this side, so obviously we're in the wrong cylinder in the wrong spot. So this must be a rear cylinder. And if you look right there, they put an R in the middle of the cylinder. You can't read it. I'm telling you that. That's how you know the repop. Harley never did that. It doesn't matter. It went on either way. So you take your nut, lay it up on there. Harley doesn't use any washer here. Put the nut up on there. So you got about one thread sticking out to maybe two max, which is your right height. So this stud here is the correct height. Check the back one also. That one looks like you got an extra thread hanging out, or half a thread more. So we'll measure the two there and see what the difference is. That's the length we need. It's always better to do direct measurement than guess. Okay, about 1 3/16, and that's just a tick longer. So either one of those two will work. So you can either use your 6-inch scale, which is, they call it a scale because it has scale reading on it, not because you're weighing something with it. You also have a caliper you can use. Measure your depth of your stud. 1.2 inches. 1.2 inches on the nut. 1.96 on that, so that's already 10th variation on the measurement. 195, so basically 1.2 inches gets you right in the ballpark what you need. If you use your scale, you got 1/8 inch, 16th, 32nd, 64ths, and then on this side here we got 100,000ths, and then you have 10,000ths here. Each one of these little lines here is 10,000ths of an inch. So if you use this one here, 1.2 inches, that'd be right there if you measure it. Instead of trying to figure out what 1.2 is in the real world, you just stick it up there and look at it. So you just put it up in there and do 1.2 inches. It looks like it's slightly under 1.2 because the stud has a high spot that we're not catching, but there's a chamfer on the stud too, so even though it looks like it's less than 1.2 inches, it's 1.2 inches. Alright, so now we know what height we need to do. People, why I buy junk eBay crap. Junk makes good tools for references, for important stuff. Alright, those are out of the way. One case. Damn, that is sharp. Every time I touch this case, there's a new place to cut me. Yeah, that's a new sharp edge down on there. I've deburred these things like 5 times already. Yeah, these are sharp. Don't put your fingers in there. Okay. Pull out our studs here. We should have 8 of them here, hopefully. Yeah, it appears that we have 8 still sitting here. Amazing how that works. Using a stud install tool. I have expensive tools, snap-ons. These are cullet style. You can use those knockover ones that screw up the threads if you use those. I hate them. You can take 2 nuts and screw them together, jam them on there, and screw the stud in that way. That works pretty good too. Not these big tall ones because you can't put 2 on there and tell how deep it is. So if you put 1 on there, you can't measure the depth of it. Okay, this one is 7/16 20. So that'd be called fine thread. So this has a collet in here, it just collapses onto it. The problem is you don't know how deep it goes. As a quick reference, you can look at your stud before it goes in and count how many threads you're going to have sticking up. Yeah, about that many. Cut there. The problem is I didn't measure this one before I put it on. If all the studs were made the same, it would be easy, but of course they're not. So 1.2 inches means we're going to have about 2.5 to 3 threads showing. That's all the way in. This stud is not happy with me. Okay, and you want to get some red Loctite or a thread locker of some type. So you want to put a little bit in the hole and a little bit on the stud. And if it goes in, great. If it doesn't go in, take it all out, get the Loctite off, put oil on it. Depends how tight it goes in the hole. We're going to say it's going to go in loose because it's aftermarket. So we're going to put a little bit of Loctite in the threads down in the hole. So you don't need much. I don't know if you can see in there, but just put a little bit in there. And we'll put a little bit on here too. Now the reason you put on the threads in the hole is because when the stud goes in there, it shoves the Loctite in, it lubricates the insert, the threads on the inside of the case. This here will lubricate the threads on the outside. The stud, as it goes in, it lubricates the whole thing. So you're going to have a lot of Loctite in there when you're all done, which is what you want. Now this we got to tighten up with a zip gun. Find the appropriate socket to use. That ain't it. That looks good. You need a big one to turn the big socket. That one there. And you need an appropriate tool to pot a jar of it. And the tripod's in the way, so gotta work around that. There we go. I didn't jerk that around too much, did I? Make sure you're tightening. First thing I just tighten the collet. Collet's tight. Always make sure it's starting the case before you hit it with power when you screw things up. That thing's going in pretty easy. What a shocker. I'm going to stop right there. It's starting to get tight right there, about 3 threads from out. My guess is that's probably about the right spot. So depending on how good you want this job to be, you're going to be doing this back and forth a few times. So the more accurate you want to make it, the longer it takes to do the job. We are 1.25 inches out right now. Otherwise, I know it's 1.25 inches. So that means I got to redo everything, go back in another turn and a half. Roughly. 50 thou is about 1 full thread. So if you mark the stud with a Phillip tip, you know where you're at. I'm thinking a turn to a turn and a quarter needs to be in there. So you mark the stud right there on the top where you're working. So either that stud's got oil on or this felt tip sucks. Put the felt tip in your pocket to warm it up. It'll work better. It's cold on your leg too when you first put it in. Okay, now we're going to tighten this collet back up. And that'll also screw it in a little bit too at the same time. Okay, not quite one full turn. It's getting tight as you can tell. Right on the money, one turn. Now we don't know if that's going to be correct yet, but we'll figure it out. It just loosened up on me. Didn't want that to happen. That's because I tightened it so much trying to move it in with it. So this time I'm going to hold it in my hand and work it real fast. Didn't have time to turn the stud. Okay. Now we'll see how close we are. Once we get this figured out, we'll know how much to turn the next ones in at. We are close enough. A tick too far maybe. See, it looks like it's just under 1.2 inches. But that can be deceiving. So put this in there and measure it. 185 probably. Nope. 206. Remember I told you it looked like it was going to be more than it was? Or less? 202. I'm good enough with that number. So one turn was 50 thou. Keep that in your head so next time you do it, you'll know where you're at. And when you put this on there, it looks like it's way under 2.2 inches. Looks like it's 2.180 to me. But that's not what it measured. Now it wouldn't hurt to make sure you're zero on your caliper here. It's zero correctly. Let's check the other half. Yeah, see the other side says 190. Studs are not square. So it could come out a little bit. It's close enough though. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with the next stud. So we're going to measure our overall height to see where we want it to be at. Once again, we're going to have about 3.5 threads hanging out, maybe 4 almost, so we'll know when we're getting close. We know when it starts getting tight in the case, we're getting close also. In the hole. No reason to flood it in the hole. Get some in there. If you have to wipe off a bunch when you're done, you put too much in. That one did not want to start. There we go. Right spot. Guessing. See, about 4 threads out, I'm guessing. Pretty damn close. Oop. Here, let's see, kick the camera. So, see, it looks like we're right, pretty close to 1.2 inches there. A little over actually. That's what it looks like to me. Check with our caliper just to make sure. About 20 thou up. So it needs to go more. I think the camera is in the way of airline. You put camera in different directions so airline doesn't hit it so bad. We'll see how long that works. Okay, so I want to go a little bit further, but not much. 20 thou, going by 50 before, about 1/3 of a turn. And it's tight. It's been moved. About 20%. Marks right here, so that's 1/3 of a turn. Get one more. Another 1/16 of an inch. See, if your air tools have a lot of grunt, you don't have to beat the tar of it to make it move. You just get just a couple little hammer marks and does it. Pop it. Gonna pop the collet for you to make it come loose. Okay, how close are we this time? Looks like 190, which means it's probably 205. Oh. Come on, keep moving as I push it on you. 201. Pretty close. So you can see pretty good with your eyeballs if you let your eyeballs work. Once you know the pattern, you can do it pretty easy. Okay, this one's going to have a lot more threads showing. So this has another one that has a lot of threads hanging out there. So, way more. So now we're in a repeat game now. Like if you get one that won't go in, stop, pull it out, wipe all this Loctite off, put assembly lube on, that's what I use. So I pull out my Torco assembly lube, very high pressure oil, because if it's really tight, if you keep forcing it, it's either going to break the case or it's going to gull up all the threads and then break the case. That's why it breaks it blows it apart. It'll definitely screw up the threads in the case. So you pull it out, lubricate it, and shove it in that way. It burnishes the thread, which means it just kind of jams it all together and kind of moves it around, but doesn't gall it. And you might have to do that 3 or 4 times. You never know. Depends how tight of a fit it is. But never force it too much. You gotta know the power of the tools you're using, know how much that is. So you see how it goes in kind of easy and it gets really hard? That'll tell you you're getting in there on good stuff. Pretty damn tight right there. Hammer mechanic. Beat on with a hammer. Okay, that looks a little too much. Well, we did go too far. See, at some point you're going to overdo it, which is not good. I don't like backing up. See how you're about 1/170 or so. $165. So we need to back it up a lot. That last couple beeps on the gun was too much, so remember that next time. Don't get carried away. Keep that in your pocket, one's up to you. Okay, now I got to just back in there and unscrew it a little bit, which I hate doing. I don't like unscrewing. 65. Two-thirds of a turn. About that much. Oh, you dumbass. That was tighty, not enough back. Two-thirds right even. This time make sure you're on the pull out, not tighten. Hit it quick. It's tight. Okay, let's see where we're at this time. Now we're a little bit too far out. Like about 15 or so maybe. 10, 208. So you could leave it. You can make it better. I'll make it better. It's all about how picky you are. I'm pretty picky. Heavy, but pretty good. Be 202 or so. 1995. That's pretty much 2 inch. 203 that time. If your caliper's a little bit angled like that, it gets a different number. Okay, we're at 1 or 2. I want to be between 9.5 and 0.5. 10 thou. Preferably right within a couple. So, there you go. Alright, so that one we screwed up, came back, but that stud's still really tight, and you can tell it didn't get loose unscrewing, it was still tight. So we have to worry about it falling out. Now one thing you want to do is you want to clean off the excess Loctite. You can see how little extra I got here, like almost none, which means I'm putting on the correct amount. If I saw a big Loctite trail running down the case, that means I'm overdoing it. When you clean your case up again, because we will be cleaning this again, make sure you blow out inside the hole, because the Loctite gets up inside these holes. You want to make sure you blow all that out. So you don't want that Loctite running around inside your motor. Not a good thing. Okay, this one here looks about the same. Now you notice it's right where the threads start getting clean. So the dirty part is inside the case. So the inside of the case, it looks like we're about 3/4 of an inch, not that much. You probably got at least an inch of thread in there. This stud could be longer. Okay, Loctite in the hole. Here now. Put it on our stud again. You only got to do the first 1/2 inch or so because it's going to go run up the thread. There's no reason to put it way up here because that's not even going to be inside the hole. So, unless you want to waste your Loctite, there's no reason to do that. They call that being green now, not wasting stuff. I call it being cheap. Stuff costs money. Okay, I'm going to stop right there, which is right at the party line between the clean and the dark. Let's go see what that looks like. Remember, we want to unscrew. Too much go back. Too far out. Definitely too far out. Way out there. At least 45. Oh, 63. I'm not even bad. 65. So we know that's over a turn now. We know one turn's about 50 thou, right? Roughly. So about 1/8 turns is what we're going to need. Now if you look at the thread, the amount of thread sticking out here versus here, you can see how this one definitely looks like it's over a turn out more than that one. So the more you do this, the more you get into doing it right. But I don't like unscrewing, that's why I stopped early, plus it shows you what it looks like. Oh. Yeah, that's about 1 1/4. Yeah. I'll leave it. We were 15 thou more, that's probably a little over 1 1/4, I bet. Okay, I'm going to guess 6 over. Ooh, I was way off. 182. 182 again. Damn, I'm way off on my math. See, sometimes you're just flat wrong. See, the mark's right there. We need to come up to 1/4. We only need 1 turn that time. Not a turn and 1/4. Uneven. Good. Probably a couple over. 201. Well, that's almost a couple. 202 would have been a couple. 199 that time. So the average is a 200 even. Just what we wanted. Okay, so that time 1 turn was 65 thou. Okay. You look at how much threads are sticking out. They're pretty equal. Whoop. I gotta get the camera blowing up here. So you look at how much these are out. Both of these studs look like they're about the same amount out. So there you go. Alright, there's 1 down. Okay. Perfect. Alright, so next case. I've been told my videos are too long. I do read the comments. You should do too. The comments are better than the videos sometimes. A lot of tech info in those comments. So, if you don't want to watch this case be done, shut the camera off. Go to the next video. Or watch. Let's see how bad I'll screw up this one. You never know. Maybe I'll break something. That does happen. Alright, so next thing. Same deal. Measure stud. Could have a lot sticking out. It's obviously 1 thread past the shiny part, which is hard to measure because you can't see the shiny part when it's in the hole. Imagine that. Ooh, too much. I put twice as much Loctite I needed to put. Look at that. Look how much is in that hole. It's like red all the way. Definitely being wasteful. About that much on that much. Good. And that hole feels loose. That was loose. See how quick that went in there? Did get tight though finally. I want more than that. I'm going to put the rust part on the outside. Probably old gasket sealer. Close, and we are a little bit high. About 15 to 20. 20, 19.5. So 20 thou, it's already marked, it's got that big blown spot on there. Ah! Of course now it's blowing up, you can't see as much. There we go. Big brown spot right there. Better so you can see maybe. Okay, so 20 thou. Let's see, the last time we did 20 it was a quarter of a turn, I think. So I'm thinking a quarter of a turn is what I need. Yeah, it was a little over a quarter. That was a heavy quarter. 20 to be 80. I'm going to leave it there. Looks good. Maybe 5 under. Three and a half under, 65. Bumped in my hand. That doesn't count. This one says 90. I don't like 90. 90, no good. This one says 95. 95, not good either. Me don't like. Too deep. Remember, we didn't put the gasket in our dimension yet, so that's going to move it up probably almost a full thread. Depending on your gasket, at least half a thread. Okay, so I want that mark to go over a little bit. I went too much on that, that's how much I need to go back. Actually, it's already marked there, I forgot. Yeah, I got 2 marks on that one. Nah, that's too much. 1/8 of a turn. Right there. And, nah. Indecision. Don't think about it too much. Cause too much problem when you overthink things. We'll see how that goes. Shooting for right on the money. To +2. It'll be +2 to -2, but we'll see. We are at 2. .203 that time. .197. Something's wrong here. I'm not holding caliper straight. 199. The stud's not cut straight either. I bet you it's longer on this side. Nope. It is 99. Alright. It's all me. Okay. I'm good with that. 199. I can live with 199. Okay. See the brown spot's way over here where I thought it was supposed to be the first time. See, I overthought myself. Don't overthink yourself. Okay, more Loctite. Next hole. Didn't overdo the Loctite that time. Okay, where's my scale at? 1.2 inches. Yeah, about the same number, 4 threads out. It's enough. Tight. It's tight. Real tight. I'll stop there because I want to loosen it up once it's in. That was right at the limit of where I want to be tightening. It's tight. Needs more. Oh yeah. 1,250. Needs another full turn. Or almost a full turn. And that thing is tight. See if I can get a full turn more out of it. One turn even. Way back.